Following on from the previous video, which documented the Laenen family's story about the day Maria went missing and was later discovered murdered, this video documents the family's determination to have Maria's murder and the police investigation following it to be investigated. To view the video about the Laenen family's story and the original video in relation to the case, click on the suggested video links on the top of the screen. Maria Yvonne Laenen's family insisted that the Queensland Police Service had failed in their duty to investigate Maria's case adequately and were determined to take their complaint against the Queensland Police Service further. Mr. Lewis Laenen wrote a letter to Member of Parliament for Woodridge, Mr. Darcy, addressing his outrage at the Queensland Police Service, stating, quote, "I cannot accept that people in responsible position as the police are capable to such a distortion," end quote, and urged Mr. Darcy to bring his letter to the attention of the Minister for Police to ensure that this level of incompetence by the Queensland Police Service will not occur again in the future. At Mr. Laenen's insistence, Mr. Darcy addressed Mr. Laenen's concerns in relation to the police investigation into Maria's murder, which occurred on the 28th of January 1978 at the Queensland Parliamentary debate of the Legislative Assembly on Thursday the 20th of April 1978. The objective of the address was to increase exposure of the case and also to address serious concerns in relation to the conduct of the Queensland Police Service after the serious incompetence demonstrated in the investigation of the murder of his daughter. At the Queensland Parliamentary debate of the Legislative Assembly, Member of Parliament for Woodridge Mr. Darcy addressed the Assembly on Mr. Laenen's behalf, mentioning that the Queensland Police Service, particularly the Woodridge Police, had recorded a, quote, "complete distortion of the facts and truth," end quote, and had failed in their duty to investigate the case to a satisfactory standard, among other issues that Mr. Laenen wished to be raised in the debate. As a preliminary statement, Mr. Darcy brought it to the attention of the Assembly that both Mr. and Mrs. Laenen, Maria's parents, were active members of the Woodridge branch of the Australian Labor Party and had made significant contributions to election campaigns throughout the years. It was also mentioned that prior to her murder, Maria was an employee of the Australian Taxation Department. It was also mentioned that the inaccurate information provided to the media by the Queensland Police Service resulted in publicity that was defamatory in nature and detrimental to Maria's character and reputation, and also that of the family. Mr. Darcy addressed the unsatisfactory investigation by the Queensland Police Service in relation to the case, including how the Woodridge Police had essentially turned Mr. Laenen away when he initially attended the station to report Maria as a missing person, telling him to come back at a later stage and make a report. Along with their complacent response to Mr. Laenen's original contact with Woodridge Police, the Queensland Police Service had also claimed that they could not understand Mr. Laenen due to his accent. Yet Mr. Darcy confirmed that Mr. Laenen's English proficiency was good and that he never had problems understanding him, and is certain that all of the members of the Australian Labor Party branches in his electorate would agree. It was also addressed that the Woodridge Police were telephoned immediately when the Laenen family had located Maria's vehicle, yet it took the police several hours to attend the scene and inspect the vehicle. When the police eventually attended at Limerick Street to inspect the vehicle, all the police did was lock the vehicle, left it where it was parked, and then went back to Acacia Ridge Police Station. The police failed to inspect the vehicle even though the keys were in the vehicle and Maria's handbag was on the front passenger seat. The Laenen family was shocked as they assumed it would be standard police procedure to search a vehicle in the event that it belonged to a missing person. Mr. Laenen was outraged that the police had basically left it to the family to do their own investigation, which ultimately led to Mr. Laenen discovering his daughter deceased in the boot of her car. From what the family observed, the only contribution the police made to the investigation was to approach a few people in the street and ask them whether they had seen Maria. Mr. Darcy concluded his address to the Legislative Assembly, stating that Mr. Laenen maintains a strong opinion that he is certain that if the Woodridge police had taken his complaint seriously and investigated the case properly, the CIB, for which he added he has the highest regard, would have been informed and could have commenced an investigation into the case at least 3 hours earlier. Mr. Darcy added that the murder of Maria Yvonne Laenen was a, quote, tragic case and a worry to all of us who have been associated with it. We had trouble getting the body released. We had trouble getting the car back. It has only been back a couple of days. Of course, the murderer of this girl has not yet been found. The police are virtually saying that there's very little hope of solving the murder.